Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate?
I know what it is to be a victim of police brutality, to fight for justice, for Amadou Diallo, Abner Louima, because I was there. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of America.
2021, make your vote count now, count now, count now, count now. Vote now, vote now, vote now. Every card is a ballot now.
We have to end inequality in our school and in housing and ensure we won't have crime and gun violence destroying our city. This is our moment.
Make it count, make it count, make your vote, make it count. We say, oh yeah, who's our candidate? 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 Who's our candidate?
Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Okay, now that our commercial is out of the way, let me introduce myself. I am Robert Press. While I am a Democrat, and Eric Adams is the Democratic candidate for mayor, there are two other candidates that are running. One is a Republican, one is a conservative. We'll get into that a little later.
Actually, it's more than that, buddy. I can read off the list.
Excuse me. I didn't introduce you yet, Mr. Dion Powell. Okay. Let me introduce Dion. Do not interrupt, please, Dion. Okay, let me introduce Professor Anthony Rivera, who is associated with the Northwest Bronx Democrats, among other things. Anthony, introduce yourself, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anthony Rivera. As I always tell people, I have three lives. First and foremost, I am celebrating my 30th year as a financial advisor. Secondly, I am a college professor, as you indicated, in business and finance, both at Lehman College as well as Monroe College. And my third life, I'm a little bit more than associated with the Northwest Bronx Democrats. I'm the founder of Northwest Bronx Democrats.
Okay, let me introduce my other co-host, Mr. Dion Powell, who currently is working for Mr. Sammy Ravello for borough president. And Mr. Dion Powell is he's a Democrat. He ran in the 79th Assembly District, came in 5th out of 5 candidates, and is, he was also on the Conservative Party line for that race, but he was in Philadelphia. What were you doing, Dion? Playing Philadelphia mascot for the Phillies? I mean, that's the pictures that I had, and he's currently sitting in office of the Conservative Party. So, who is the candidate you were supporting for mayor? Is it Joe Pepitone?
It's Bill Pepitone, actually. And you neglected to mention there are several, like almost 8 new parties in the general election here, buddy. Your introduction does me and Reverend Dr. Anthony Rivicchio's social injustice to humanity, the voice of humanity, okay? I'm Dion Powell. I'm the founder of the New York State Free-Thinking Democrats in the South Bronx and beyond. I'm also a political consultant. I'm the county committeeman of the 79th Assembly District. Does that help you? Now flash your shield.
County committee? There were how many county committees in the 79th Assembly District? 200?
We have, let's see, he's always trying to catch me off guard, then manages to spin it back to being all about himself. Robert Press's life featuring 2 guys. Anyway, there are 90 EDs, which stand for electoral election districts in the.
And there could be 2 or 3 candidates from each district.
Right, but you see, you cut me off trying to make me look bad, and you look so special. But it's okay. Actually, we should talk about Robert Press's.
Wait a minute.
The Morris Parks Civic Association, where he said he's an essential worker. Let's talk about how you're an essential worker, Robert Press.
Governor Cuomo said it. Okay, Governor Cuomo to me. Now, Anthony, I want to ask you a question, Anthony. You see Dion with the Yankee hat, correct? Now, This is a LA Dodgers shirt, if I can get it up. Let me do it this way then. This is an LA Dodgers shirt. Now, which team is still in the playoffs? The Yankees or the Dodgers? Dion?
That question was directed at
Well,
Mr.
that
Rubio.
depends who you talk to, Robert. Remember, some people still think the Astros did it legally.
All right, let's move on to our topics. Let's go to Joe Biden. It appears that his $1.7 billion infrastructure plan is in trouble. Now, that seems kind of hard because the Democrats have control of Congress and Senate. Senator Schumer, he's the number one man there, and you have Nancy Pelosi in Congress. Well, Anthony, you're the professor. Can you explain what the problem is? Are you there, Anthony?
Well, I'm a professor in business and finance. So
Once again, another botched
moment.
intro, doing Mr. Rubio's social injustice.
Bottom line, to answer your Dion. Bottom line, to answer your question, it's all a numbers game. It's been a numbers game for the last 10, 15 years. This number game is, as long as Mitch McConnell controls 10 Republicans, as long as he can do, the Democrats have to come to him.
Okay, now Dion,
That's the bottom line numbers. You can call them Democrats, Republicans, scrubs.
What's your opinion of this, Dion?
Well, I was talking to Pat McManus, the chair of the Bronx Conservative Party, who is going to be on the show hopefully next week, and he said the following way. He said, our whole economic infrastructure plan sucks because we got boats in the ocean just sitting there trying to get ashore to drop off their cargo. So there's going to be certain, deficits and droughts when it comes to produce and goods in the United States. In the next 2-3 months or so, we're going to really start feeling the pinch. So how do I feel about it? Not very good, not very confident, but I will end by saying this. I guess I, should feel a little bit better that money that should have been going to the HBCUs, historically black colleges and universities, will be.
Dion, we're talking about Joe Biden, not
Joe Biden did it.
National, not local. How long, by the way, how long has Patrick McManus been the chair of the Bronx Conservative Party?
Well, since the late
3 months.
Whoa. Since the late great Bill Newmark, who had me on the Conservative Party line, passed away last year, then it made Pat McManus the chair ever since, I'll say, May.
Yes. And didn't you say that you killed the former Conservative Party chair, Bill Newmark, you get petitions in the projects, by you?
Well, you just made Anthony Rubio faint. He must be really still been bereavement. And I see you think it's funny that a great man like Bill Newmark has passed on, even though he's done so much for you. That's why you can't get your shirt over your big tummy, because he fed you some well. Because Robert Press, tell Anthony Rubio how you came to our office and drink up all our sodas and brought your lunch from.
Were you talking about the other day?
Yeah, Dion, I heard you didn't invite me.
Yeah, Robert Press almost got thrown out the Morris Park Civic Association meeting because he's such a nonsensical worker.
Sure, Dion. Let me, I saw the bed in the back room. Is that where you're sleeping now?
Well, it seems like our producer said that we can't make it personal. So, let's try to keep it out of the bedroom. I'm sure many ladies have told you that.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to state politics. Governor Kathy Hochul, is she doing a good job? She's there 46 days now. Yes, no, or you don't know, Dion?
Horrible job. Let me tell you why. Only public leaders like myself and Andy King, the former councilman, had meetings and rallies and events catered to all the workers that have been fired because of the vaccine mandates. And one issue that he brought to my attention, like I'm going to bring to yours, that all the CUNY and SUNY college graduates who won't be able to graduate and get their degree because they're not vaccinated. It's not right. It's not fair. And hopefully this will go up the pipeline. Something will happen.
Oh, so before I move to you, Anthony, so you like former Councilman Andy King then, Dion, right?
Sure do.
Right. And don't forget that I represented him on Community Board 11 for years. And Anthony, how long do we know former Councilman Andy King?
Well, I can't speak for you. You can speak for yourself. I'll say our organization supported Andy King since his inception. So my personal relationship with Andy goes back 2 decades, but our organization's relationship, maybe 12 years. I'm guessing around the same time.
Right. So, I mean, how long do you know him, Dion? A year, maybe? Oh, we lost Dion.
I would say this. In the Black Circles press at the cookouts, I've known Andy King, his wife, for over 10 years, through our circles and networks, especially in Co-op City, before he was a councilman. And Seabrook and the rest of the gang. That's before I really got more active.
Well, don't forget, I'm a reporter for Muslim Media. This is the Parkchester Times.
Since when?
Since 2017. And I don't want to get personal, Dion, with you, but my claim to fame is hosting the debate of the Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez.
It's so phony.
The 14th congressional debate that propelled Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez into her office. Okay, it seems things changed after that.
You can see that in the movie. Bring Down the House. I don't like to say it, but you're going to force me to say it. Yes,
well, don't say it.
The original Ocasio campaign was a mutual effort of a number of organizations that did a whole bunch of work, whether it was direct mail, knocking on doors, my team, which did internet advertising and promotion for her. And yes, there was a time in the campaign.
All right, let's move on.
We had several of them. And yes, Bob, your newspaper did one of them. And I would say, as I've always said, because I don't take credit, but what I always say is that it was a collection of people's work that over time spiced. And yes, Robert, you were a part of it too, because as those debates took forward from Parkchester Times, from New York One, from other organizations, all of it compelled to get Mr. Ocasio over the
Dion, what part did you play in her winning?
I can go the other direction and tell you the negative aspect that I had. I got a phone call.
You worked for Crowley?
No, I didn't work for anybody. Nobody wanted to pay me, which is fine. But let me tell you about AOC's camp. She's one thing, but I had a call from a certain person that sounded very young and not from our community, asking, Dion, you're community leader, and we heard you're great, but we're hiring 30 bodies. Can you send us 30 bodies at $15 an hour to come do our campaign? I said, no, I'm a consultant now. Cut me a contract. Oh, but no, I want to speak to the treasurer. No, but I want to speak to the campaign manager. Oh, I'm not authorized, blah, blah, blah. We don't have that much money. So you're telling me that you're hiring 30 people at $15 an hour and you have no money? Yeah, but Mr. Powell, you got to understand, our people and volunteers are too timid to go into projects. Really? Guess what? Parkchester is not the projects. Click. That's when I knew this campaign, maybe not her, we're going to snake their way into our community under the false pretenses and help and gentrify it indirectly.
Well, let's get back to the governor's race, okay, while we have it. Who do we think is going to run against Kathy Hochul? Now, Jumaane Williams has said he is, Attorney General Tish James has said nothing really, just hinting at it, and she's doing fundraising. We have Bill de Blasio, who is now accused of using the police to take his children around and his wife. So that should knock him out. Will both Tish James and Jumaane Williams run? Why or why not? Dion?
Well, in the Northwest group this morning that I was tagged in from the New York State Free Thinking Democrats of South Bronx, Jumaane Williams has gotten a lot of matching funds. And we all know, right, Robert Press, what happens if he tries to put that money into next year's race.
That's a lot of pancakes, right, Dion?
Yeah, but my question is,
That's a lot of pancakes.
Oh, I want to know why, our LA Dodgers fan couldn't spell his name right for our viewers. So who's Robert Press? Who's that? Anthony Rubicchio, you're a numbers guy, but can you read it right? So could you please take your nose off the screen? Thank you. Look at that, man. You put the pancakes down. I'm taking over the show. Remember that, Rubicchio? I'm taking over this show. So now Dion Powell has to take over the show as Robert Press gets it together. Let's move on to current events. Mr. Rubicchio, last night at the Estella B. Diggs Democratic Club that I'm now a member of, the first Black elected official.
And where is this club, Dion? Where is this club?
Black. Let's see if his name is spelled right. How you spell your name again, sir?
No, I'm going to leave it up, Dion.
Okay, this club.
I'll put Donald Duck up for you if you want.
Nah, Mickey Mouse. Okay, that's more suited. No, Daisy Duck. How about that? Oh, well, your name is still misspelled. Don't worry about it. So anyway, we were at the New Covenant Dominion Federal Credit Union building, 1175 Boston Road.
1175 Boston Road. Okay.
Black-owned credit union, people. I have a member.
So you're running for 79th Assembly District again?
No.
Well, how many votes did you get?
We're not talking about that, are we? Why don't you tell us? Flash your shield. Is your name
all right, let's keep moving on, guys.
Actually, I want to see your shield. I want to see your real name, okay?
Let's move on, guys. Well, we wanted to bring in Sammy Rivera right here to talk about the Bronx Borough President, but obviously we can't since Dion, his consultant, didn't let him come on the show. So why don't you speak a little about Sammy Rivera, Dion?
Well,
and play Annabelle Palmer.
Our producer wants us to go back to the governor's race. So you want to start there and work our way backwards, or how you want to do this?
We're past the governor's race already. You already said Jumaane Williams is going to be the candidate.
Oh, thanks.
But let me ask you a question, Dion.
Sure.
Do you think both Tish James and Jumaane Williams are going to run against each other?
Maybe they'll team up, which is very unlikely. But if Jumaane Williams runs for governor, then logically, probably Tish James will run for governor too. That way, all those votes will be nice and chopped up, so Hochul can win again. Okay?
Yeah, but don't you think the Brooklyn Democratic people will say to Jumaane Williams, she has a much better chance than you? Don't you think that Tish James would have a better chance than Jumaane Williams?
Well, seeing as though you're bringing up Kings County, because the Bronx knows Brooklyn's real name, Rodney Bashad is actually not too favorable right now. And Jumaane, Tish, and our three currently maybe incoming elected officials citywide are all from Brooklyn. So Brooklyn has a nice, strong position of leadership here in New York City and particularly New York State. Now, whether Jumaane and Tish go at it, I don't think the Kings County Democratic machine has the capacity to decide who does what. Now that Sherwin Ronish Bashar is under the microscope.
Well, let's look at it this way. Tish James would have to give up her position of Attorney General, and Jumaane Williams wouldn't because it's an off year for him. So let's say Tish James runs for governor. Who runs for Attorney General? There have been some names.
Bob, you're going a little bit too fast. Let's go back to what we were talking about a moment ago. And
you're right, Anthony. I forgot about that.
You actually hit the nail on the head. That Jumaane Williams is in a win situation. And he's going to take all of those situations and combat it into a perfect prize for him. He knows he's not running. He knows the party's going to offer him whatever he can. He now knows he has $1 million, so he's got $1 million to float his name out there to make his prize even more special for him, whatever that prize is, whatever Jake Jacobs comes up with. Because at the end of the day, Tish James is running. She's going to get all of her soldiers, including Dion, to support him.
No.
And Jumaane Williams will cut that deal before running independently.
Well, Dion, why not? Why do you think not?
That Tish James is not going to run for governor?
No, that Jumaane will run for governor and win.
Oh, I didn't say that. Anthony Riccio said win. Jumaane Williams is only...
No, I didn't say win either. I didn't say win either. What I said was it will be a two-person race. And if de Blasio comes in, he'll have no effect. Zero effect. If he gets more than 10% pops, I'll be shocked.
We're talking about Jumaane Williams.
James versus Hochul, and I got my own assumptions.
All right,
that's
Anthony.
what it's going to be.
And all right. Well, do you think then, Dion, that Jumaane will win because it's one man against two women, or would Kathy Hochul win because they're both from Brooklyn?
No, Kathy Hochul will win because in that scenario, because I'll say again, Anthony said win several times. I don't know what he meant. Kathy Hochul is in a position to get reelected because Tish James and Jumaane will split up a lot of liberal, progressive, minority votes. If de Blasio is in there, he'll just be a distraction. But Kathy Hochul will be in a nice position to win if Brian Benjamin sticks with her, I believe.
Dion, I'm going to tell you this. I was 3 feet from Kathy Hochul at the Bronx Democratic Party.
In height or distance? In height or distance?
Right next to her.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And it seemed to me the same person at the 2015 dinner that when I said, oh, look, the governor's plane is up in a storm. What happens if it would crash and the governor wouldn't be able to govern anymore? Are you ready to take over? She almost looked like the same person. She's sitting there waiting to be called up, like a student in a class when the teacher calls them up to give their speech. That's what Kathy Hochul looked like to me. I'm not saying she's not bad, but she's continuing a lot of Cuomo's ideas, and all it is
in
really
in baseball terms, since you guys are wearing baseball outfits, in baseball terms, right now I would say she's a Gary Sanchez, meaning she's a member of the team. She, of course, will be in the starting lineup, and she's trying her best. She's trying her best, but at the end of the day, she's even failing on her own statements, right? She's going to keep Robert Mujica as the budget director after she says, I'm getting rid of everybody, and now she's got this new phrase, oh, I'm going to get rid of everybody that's on the report. She didn't say that a month or two ago. She said, I'm getting rid of everybody. I'm starting clean. Now it's, oh, if you're not on the report, it's okay.
And since the both of you aren't vaccinated, what do you think of her mandate on
Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate?
I know what it is to be a victim of police brutality, to fight for justice, for Amadou Diallo, Abner Louima, because I was there. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of America.
2021, make your vote count now, count now, count now, count now. Vote now, vote now, vote now. Every card down, please a ballot now.
We have to end inequality in our school and in housing and ensure we won't have crime and gun violence destroying our city. This is our moment.
Make it count, make it count, make your vote, make it count. We say, oh yeah, who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate? Who's the candidate?
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Well, I'll answer that mandate question because I already talked about it earlier. Okay. And I'm glad we had this little commercial again, which I hope that I have my picture in more often. But how come Eric Adams and the current public advocate Jumaane Williams aren't speaking about all the workers that have lost and will continue to lose their jobs and students that won't be able to graduate because they're not vaccinated? Okay, so that's one of the things I wanted to highlight to put them on blast, because I know I'm going to put politicians on blast, but I'll put them on blast because I can't believe people can't even graduate and they took all their credits because they're not vaccinated. So I stand with Andy King, Lex in New York, and other people that were in Brooklyn at the.
You know, if if I might, because I just want to slightly correct Dion. Slightly.
Really?
And the only reason I can say this is because, of course, I work for CUNY. So I do know that, yes, Dion, you're right. That is a problem. However, I do know there's been a lot of discussion behind the scenes about online learning with those particular group of individuals. I'm not saying it's a solution, and the solution is above my pay grade, but I just want to share with you that it is an active discussion at CUNY.
I'm sorry that I wasn't privy to that information. Adjunct.
Well, that's because you don't work there. That's why.
Exactly. Give me a job. I want to be an adjunct when I grow up like you. But how come
I love you too.
Eric Adams hasn't spoken about anything. Jamari Williams hasn't spoken about anything about mandates. So anybody that's in the streets, that's a teacher, essential worker, especially, these two got to be held accountable if they're going to do anything. And like I tell everybody else, early voting is around the corner. Your brain doesn't have to be programmed to vote for Eric Adams or anybody. Don't think they won or whatever. You still can.
Wait a minute. We need to mention the third person in that race, Dion.
You mean the whole 8? Let me pull up the list for you, okay? Like Stacey Pressman, right?
Robert, if I might, just to follow up on something Dion said, if I might for just a moment. As a co-host, I feel compelled to follow up on what Dion just said. He's absolutely right. Early voting is right around the corner. I think our producer's doing a wonderful job trying to up. So I think as a co-host, I feel compelled to say, you know, Latina Brown, you missed a great opportunity. You know, Sammy Ravello, you missed a great opportunity. Mr. Producer, you're doing. But instead of getting these amateurs to get you guests, feel free to call Mr. Rivicchio at Rivicchio Financial Advisors. We'll get this done more professionally. But again, Latina Brown, you should have been here. Sammy Ravello, you should have.
Well, we have, Tony, we have a surrogate.
And Mr. Powell and Mr. Press and the executive producer make sure these people show up.
We have a surrogate for
Jim
Mr.
Ross
Ravello.
trying to call people out to a ladder match.
We have a surrogate, just like, what was her name? Annabelle Palmer sat in for Congressman Crowley. So this is, I mean, you know, I have to take it and say that Sammy Ravello is not concerned about winning the race. He's just out there to get his name out. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs against Gustavo Rivera next year, since he's in Gustavo's district. All right. He and Gustavo had an argument at the Van Ness Community Association, and they look like candidates having a debate. So I said to Sammy, why don't you run against Gustavo next year if you live in his district? But he doesn't have to live in the district. All right. In redistricting, you can run anywhere. I can run against Jose Rivera if I want. And Tony, you can run against Carl Hasty.
I will say this: if you ran against,
you mean I can run against people like Dion? Wait. You mean I can run against people like Dion Powell?
Dion's not an elected official.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, watch this. Unless you're going to run for my county committee's position, you're going to run against me.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay,
That's what I was talking about.
What does a county committee member do?
We already discussed that on the previous episode.
Okay, you're only there to vote for the executive board. Okay, the district leaders vote for the county leader.
That's not entirely true.
Why don't you run for a district leader?
Why don't you tell the whole truth? Because Anthony Rivicchio will probably co-sign what I'm about to say. We also, just like with Mr. Udelka Tapia, we vote for special election candidates for the party. Correct?
Right. If there is a county committee in place.
So why didn't you say that?
Some districts don't have county committees in place.
Yeah, because there's so many vacancies. Thanks to Yoda Theochino, who was on last week, Rep My Block. We're trying to fill all those 2,400 vacancies here in the Bronx and beyond.
The 80th Assembly District doesn't have a county committee. If Natalia Fernandez was to somehow leave office, there would be no Democratic candidate. Because in her petitions, they screwed up on the number of county committee people. So we have no county committee in the 80th.
Can I add something? You were at the meeting press in Morris Park where I think it was Tizzy and someone else said that, you know, they miss and they love Jeff Klein and Mark Jonai. And I must say that coming into community on the ground, listening to that, that was very interesting because they called out Biaggi, They called Natalia and say, hey, you voted for these people because they're Latina and their last name sounded Italian, and you remember their grandfather, and they've done nothing for us. So that's just me recanting what I heard at that meeting that you were in press, so you could corroborate that.
And what did I say, Dion?
You said you were an essential worker. You flashed your seal. The cop got a cup of coffee, and everybody left.
No, Dion. I said that Natalia Fernandez. I went to her office to renew my license because it's a state license, and it took her over 2 weeks. Her staff person to say, "Well, we can't do anything," and that was it. I called up the governor's office the next day, the media department, of course, since I am a bona fide reporter.
Can I see the spelling of your name, sir? How's it spelled?
Okay. And they hooked me up right to DMV, and then 3 days later, I got my license. So you tell me that all state legislators do their job or don't do their job or hire the right people or and she, by the way, the woman representing her was the one who helped me, or I should say didn't help me. But let's move on.
Well, now that you started that.
No, wait a minute, gentlemen. As a person that represents a club in that district, the 80th Assembly District, let me say a few words. First and foremost, Dion, please, and I say this as a friend, okay? I say this as a friend, okay? Before you make those type of comments, please learn the neighborhood. I'm not saying those comments weren't made. Okay, but really understand the history of that neighborhood. Just don't say Jeff Klein, understand
His name was mentioned.
Of that neighborhood and the content therein. Okay, and in regards to the comments that Mr. Press just made, let me sort of semi-elaborate. Northwest Bronx Democrats is on record, and if we weren't on record before, I'll say it now. We're on record for not supporting Natalia Fernandez for a number of different reasons. And all you got to do is come to Bedford Park, Norwood, and
is that the re-election?
50 million reasons.
Is that the first election or the second?
We don't support her.
Is that the first election or the second one?
That was the last election.
That was not just her last one, but her upcoming one.
No, I'm talking about
because if you haven't heard, and I'm sure you might have heard, there are organizations and people that are planning on running bullet petitions and putting slates together. So Miss Popular that you think she is, I got news for you.
I said
she's in a lot of trouble.
My question was, did the Northwest Bronx Democrats endorsed Natalia the first time she set foot on the ground to run for office? Yes or no?
When she first ran in 2018, she was endorsed, supported
by Councilman Jones.
By our, at the time, former assembly person who we supported and still support, Mr. Mark Jonai.
So yes, the Northwest Democrats supported Natalia vicariously with Mark Jonai off the strength of him, right?
That was the one and only.
In 2018, the answer is yes.
Okay, now let's go back to the previous point, a county committee. Now in the 79th Assembly District, there are only 3 people that ran for office at one. Myself, Brian Wigfall, and Abdul Rahman Diallo. Everybody else currently has been appointed, and we don't know who that list is. So why don't you talk about that? Appointments by district leaders of county committee people, so that when there's a special election, they could go down like with the Delca Tapia's race for Machado.
Yes, let's talk about district leaders breaking election law and the county leader, Jamal Bailey, going and saying, oh, I don't know what the bylaws say to me. And, oh, well, we can't do anything because that's my friend. Okay, the man who seconded my nomination for county leader. Okay, where'd you go, Dion? You disappeared?
I'm right here.
Okay, well, it seemed like you blacked out for a minute.
That sounds racist. Yeah.
My lights blacked out last night for 15 seconds. They went off. It's called a blackout. Okay, what do you want to call it now, Dion?
Well, just because you use the word black in a different sentence doesn't mean it's less racist.
Dion, what do you want to call when the lights go out? Huh? What do you call that now? What do you want to change it to?
Oh, I don't know. African American out.
Lights out.
Dion, this millennial rookie position of every time we disagree with somebody that's racist.
It is racist.
You know, you have to get above that, man. I know that's very popular today, but you really need, and there is some truth to it, depending on certain situations. But you really need to get above that.
We are above that because I'm coming from the George Jefferson point of view of politics, that press, and you remind me of, and the gifts you put online with George Jefferson. Remember George Jefferson? That's the Archie.
Well, brother, if you want to really go there, then let's talk about your support of home ownership, which is no different than the Carver banks of the 1970s, which are now defunct. Why are they defunct? Because they've been found guilty of ripping all of the poor people off. And how can I say poor people? Because that's who they catered to for the last 50 years.
And
so,
Dion,
you know,
you're
just hitting people with a 21st century version of versions I've seen for the last 50 years. Come on.
Dion,
you heard the man.
Get above that. Get above that.
You're a conservative, Dion, okay? One of the main...
No. Let's be frank. See, at least I'm frank. Let's be frank.
Dion's
not conservative. Dion's not conservative. And Dion's not a Democrat. Dion is just like me. Dion is just like me. Show me the money, right, Dion? Show me the money. Right, Dion? Show me the money.
Tell me money.
Dion has run on the Conservative Party, has conservative values, is sitting in the Conservative Party office right now.
Dion won't run anywhere.
You know what one of the main things of the Conservative Party was years ago? Let's sterilize all of the minority people on welfare so they don't have any more babies. Do you agree with that?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, wow, look at you, the can of worms of racism you opened and bigotry. Okay?
No, the Conservative Party was racist, and that's where you are right now.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Well, how can you tell? Oh, wow.
I can tell by the blackboard behind you. Don't say that's racist.
Oh, wow, a half empty seltzer like Belzer water. You see what you left here, Press? A Belzer seltzer, okay?
I didn't drink seltzer yesterday.
You see, he admits guilt.
Okay, but I've been to some of those Conservative Party meetings, and that's what they were for. Okay, so you're for sterilizing minority women?
No, I'm not. So I'm going to hide.
Oh my God!
That's rules of order, parliamentary procedure. Your name is Rob Ward. This is Roberts. Okay, there's a difference.
Fine.
Okay?
Let's move on.
You've also controlled this match here.
Okay.
But Bob, if I might for just a moment, you know, this is where we're at today in our crazy world of politics. I don't know if anybody has seen, it's on our page, of course, Facebook, Northwest Bronx Democrats, that now we're finding out that AON, the television network AON, right, which is Donald Trump's network for the last 2 years, right? He's done nothing but advocate for it, right? Well, they're basically supported by AT&T. And what's AT&T been doing over the last year? They've been going into the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan through their AT&T representatives, and they've been advocating for Democratic causes. So who knows which end is up, right? Because those causes at the end of the day help AON. That's not just on our page, but more importantly, it's a financial analysis from Reuters. So this is not speculation. This is
All right. Well, let's move on. We don't see, or pardon me, because we have a consultant to Mr. Rivera. Anthony, do you see any of the Democratic candidates losing in the general election? I don't.
in the city or in the Bronx?
In the Bronx.
Wow, you have to think about it? Really?
Yeah, no, I do have to think about it because I think it's I think it's a fair question.
No, it's not.
I don't see it happening.
Oh, okay.
But one thing I will say is, the last 5-6 years, electorally speaking, have been very interesting. So you never know.
Well, let's talk about, you mentioned Trump earlier. So in my group, the New York State Free Thinking Democrats.
We're not talking about Trump right now.
Yeah, well, he mentioned Trump. So we got to talk about
you
President
should
Trump.
have, you should
I'm
have
talking about
said
Trump
something
Links,
when he mentioned Trump.
Trump Links Golf Course, which is in the Bronx, is going to be contracted out to make another shelter. We're going to get more shelters because guess what? New York State is the only state by law that has to take care of the homeless. That's why poverty is a big business. And you have people making millions of dollars off shelters. So how come we're not talking about that? What about this place in freaking the Throgs that you keep crying about? Hub zoning.
No, let's talk about shelters. There's going to be 200 bed shelters in Community Board 11. What is the policy for single adult men in a community board, Dion? How many single adult males can be put in a community board? Do you know?
It depends on who is the Bronx Borough president to say how many males are on the community board. Thank you.
No. I'm talking about a shelter. Okay. How many adult single males can go into a shelter in a community board? How many? Do you know, or admit you don't?
I didn't know a community board had shelters.
They go by community board to shelters. Dion, the community boards go by shelters. The council members are told, okay, and we saw this, Tony, with Jonai in Ward 7, okay? It wound up in a different council district, but they're told by community board that they're responsible for X amount of homeless people, and they have to do that. Now, Community Board 11 is responsible for 756 homeless people. Community Board 10 is 547, I believe. But Community Board 10 is getting 400 adult single men, which is 60% of their requirement. Do you know what the DHS policy, Department of Homeless Service policy is?
No, I don't know what the policy is.
Well, let me tell you.
What about married men?
Let me tell you. The Department of Homeless Services.
What are you single for?
The Department of Homeless Services says no more than 25% of a community board's responsibility should be a single adult man.
The divorced men. What about the divorced men? The baby fathers. How many baby fathers?
What's that?
Baby fathers. Robert Press. Robert.
I don't understand you, Dion. We're talking homelessness. You know, what are you going to do after this gig with Sammy Rivera?
Well,
you'll be homeless.
No, you said I have a bed in the Conservative Party office, so I'm not going to be homeless, right? Because I have a bed in the Conservative Party office right there in the back. Where you left your seltzer like Belzer? I'm finishing your seltzer.
I don't drink seltzer.
I don't know. This looks like yours.
You know what? All I'll say is this. I wasn't there, so I don't know if he has a bed in the back. But if he does, and I hope he does, because our organization at one time, of course, supported Sammy. So if you have a bed in the back, then I'm expecting Sammy to do very well.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well,
that means that I hope you're there to work, not to sleep. Although everybody needs sleep, of course. I get an average of 3 hours a night.
Let's go back to the community board responsibility of homelessness.
But if you're sleeping there,
okay, Anthony, let me tell him about the policy. Let me tell him about the policy of homelessness. Okay, a community board, the responsibility by Department of Homeless Services is they have no more than 25% of their responsibility be a single adult males. And I've brought this up to de Blasio, okay, since as a certified reporter from the city.
Robert? How do you spell it?
I get to question Mayor de Blasio occasionally. And I brought it up.
You may not answer, but you get to question him. He may not answer.
Okay, that, why are you putting 400 homeless single adult men when the responsibility is only 25%? And Anthony, here's one for you. Riverdale is getting another shelter on Broadway, right at the city line with Yonkers, 139 single adult homeless men. So let's see how Community Board 8 handles that.
So besides the motel that's already there. Besides the motel.
Well, I got to admit one thing. I do agree with Dion a little bit. I only saw the badge for 1 second, but it doesn't look like I'm talking to that person. It looks like I'm talking with Robert press.
Yes.
You know.
What's your vax card? What's your vax card for that long needle, that beautiful long needle? Remember that long needle? The nurse, you know, she took you there, held your hand, spanked your
Don't worry, Dion. You and Anthony are going to be forced to get vaccinated.
Oh, Mark of the Beast. Wow, Anthony.
Well, you know what, Bob? You shouldn't say that because it's already happened. You know, Joe Biden yesterday sort of made it semi-official. He went to American Airlines, made a wonderful national speech about how he encouraged, because he can't mandate it, but how he encourages corporate America to now have mandate rules. And of course, it looks like organizations, private America, is looking at doing that. Do I think it's a good thing? Of course I don't. But yeah, we seem to be going in that discriminatory direction.
I'm moving to Africa. They don't care about vaccine. Africa. Malaria.
Well, Dion, there are positions open for substitute teacher.
Yes, I used to be one. That's why it's not going to work.
Well, would you go back to being a substitute teacher?
Sure, if I don't have to be vaccinated. There's so much work out there. I get so many job out emails. It's ridiculous.
Well, all right. Let's move on to the state politics for next year. Which assembly member or members do you guys feel are vulnerable? Anthony, who is vulnerable?
Oh my God. If we're talking about the Bronx, I would say I can think of two right off the bat, and that two can turn into four very easily.
Okay, so, Dion?
Benedetto and Rivera. Benedetto and Jose Rivera. Michael Benedetto and Jose Rivera.
What about Natalia Fernandez and Jeffrey Dinowitz? After all, Jeffrey Dinowitz only beat his opponent 60-40, and his opponent really spent nothing. So if Anthony was talking to me last night, we were talking about what happens if, who was the candidate you told me, Anthony?
George Diaz.
No.
George Diaz.
Woman. What was her name? The one who ran for council. I forgot her name already.
George Diaz. That's who we remember.
The one who ran against Eric. The woman.
Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate?
I know what it is to be a victim of police brutality, to fight for justice, for Amadou Diallo, Abner Louima, because I was there. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of America.
2021, make your vote count now, count now, count now, count now. Vote now, vote now, vote now. Every card is a ballot now.
We have to end inequality in our school and in housing and ensure we won't have crime and gun violence destroying our city. This is our moment.
Make it count, make it count, make your vote, make it count. We say, oh yeah, who's our candidate? Who's our candidate? Who's our candidate? Who's our candidate? Who's our candidate?
Keep watching The Politics every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Time on New York Parrot TV, the voice for humanity.
Hey, Dion.
Looks like we're back in the black. Yes.
Dion, you and I have to talk to the producer about you and I doing a tag team commercial.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Hopefully Robert Press is in the back trying to pencil in his name like he always does, so he can go crying to the Board of Elections that, there was a problem at the printer, must have been the printer error. Remember that? It should be a printer error about his name. All right, now speaking so Robert Press isn't here, I have to take leadership of the show, and I'm going to read off all the mayoral candidates for this year's general election. We have, of course, Eric Adams, Democrat, Bill Pepitone, Conservative Party, Quanda Francis, Empowerment Party, Roger Flores, Humanity United Party, Stacey Pressman, Libertarian Party, Skibowski Storer.
What is he talking about?
What?
What are you talking about, Dion?
We're talking about how your name looks lovely in print. That's what we're talking about. You know, the printer era is over. The era of the printer is over. Get it? The era of the printer is over. Get it?
Well, all right. Let's talk. Here's.
That's funny. This episode's a roller coaster. Anyway, back to my morale list. So far, we left off at Skibowski Storer, Outlaw Breaker Party, Catherine Rojas, Party for Socialism and Liberation, Curtis Willa, Republican, the Independent Party, and Fernando Mateo, Save Our City Party. Those are the candidates running for mayor in the general election. So,
and who's going to win? Eric Adams.
Oh, well, the whole show is candidate. Eric, who's our candidate? Eric, who's our candidate? Eric, who's our candidate?
Why don't you ask Joe Pepitone to advertise?
I know what it's like to be touched by a police officer. You know me, I don't know what to say anymore.
It's going, the line is going underneath. Ask Joe Pepitone to advertise next week.
His name is Bill Pepitone, goddammit.
Oh, okay. Well, I remember Joe from the Yankees.
Of course.
He was a great first baseman.
That's right. We need you to leave the Bronx because you're not a Yankees fan.
But
could you flash your shirt, please? If you can get it above your stomach, can you flash your shirt?
No, Dion.
Oh, okay. I want to see it. Okay.
You can. Why don't you take off the cap so we can see the lovely hair that you have?
Oh well, look at that. I'll show you yours if you show me mine. Okay, this is Yankee Town. I'm gonna have to show you the exit.
You want to take off the wig, Anthony?
Vince McMahon toupee. Vince McMahon toupee.
I'm as real as they.
Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate?
Oh, here I was going to get something.
I was going to say another commercial. Oh my God!
Why do people love this guy so much? It's like I just wait for this guy to sneak everywhere.
Look, didn't I ask 3 weeks ago? Didn't I ask 3 weeks ago? I said that club that's sponsoring these ads sounds very familiar. I thought Robert, as the host, should do some more investigating. On this club. I believe it's the African, I didn't catch the whole name, the Democratic African Club. So, Bob, I asked you to do this 3 weeks ago. Do you have an update for us?
Yes. You know what? You want to know where the place is located?
No, I want to know who it is, what they do.
It is a group of people on Benedict Avenue, right next to the St. Helena's Church. Okay. And you got the name right. It's the African, I believe, or I didn't copy the name down, but it's an African Islamic Center. That's what it is. Okay, in Parkchester. If you have any problems, they had a healthy lifestyle
yes, I saw that.
Day. Okay, Vanessa Gibson was there. Pamela Stewart Martinez was there. You know what, Dion? I'm going to have to ask Pamela to come on next week because you were supposed to have guests on, like Sammy Ravello today.
But I'm the one who had Pamela come on in the first place. Hello.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, think of a new one.
Pamela and I had a talk at the Bronx Democratic Dinner about you.
Huh?
We had to talk about about you at the Bronx Democratic Dinner.
Good things,
and
I hope.
Let's see if she hires you or not.
Who, Pamela?
Okay. I think she's going to hire Anthony before she hires you.
Okay, that's a good
let's
thing.
move on.
He knows the streets as well as I do, if not more so, from 1976.
We were talking about Jeffrey Dinowitz. Okay. What do we know about Jeffrey Dinowitz's opponent right now, Anthony?
Well, George
he
Diaz
has an opponent.
Very well. George Diaz.
No, it's not George Diaz. Anthony?
What's their name then?
Anthony was talking about it. The guy hasn't told me right. Jeffrey Dinowitz's opponent being brought around by who?
Does Millennium
There's a young man, and forgive me because I just recently met him myself, so his name escapes me. I believe his last name is Diaz. And again, I might be saying it wrong. Ramadou. And again, I could be saying it wrong. He's being traveled around the 81st Assembly District with his comrade, I'll put it that way for the moment, Mr. Christian Amato. And they're looking at running for assembly. This young man, who I recently met, learning about him, Says he's lived in that district all his life. He seems to be in his late 20s, young man. And he believes that changes need to be made there. And I do wish him, as with all candidates, the very best of luck. I think in that particular race, Jeffrey is vulnerable in some ways, but strong in others. So as I said to him when I met him, your hill is, in my opinion, a little bit higher than others. But as I said earlier, in the last 5 years, we've seen, many crazy things. The same gentleman I just mentioned, Christian Amato, gets a lot of credit. He doesn't deserve all the credit, but he does deserve a great deal of the credit of getting Miss Biaggi in office for the first time. So, I don't think this is a gentleman you can just dismiss.
Right. And Christian Amato, Dion, is somebody you should be looking at. He was the one who helped get Biaggi in. He had a candidate for Congress who stepped out of the way for Jamal Bowman. And he had, who was the other one? Eric, what was the name in the 15th Council District, Tony?
Miss Arias.
No, in the 15th Council District.
Well, the one you might, right. Well, he also did work for Amanda Farias. The one you're thinking about.
The one before that,
the Miss Elisa Crespo.
Elisa Crespo, who came in fourth, Dion. She was an unknown, and he is with Amanda Farias, who did win a very tough race. Okay, so this is somebody you should be looking at, and he's a very successful person right now, unlike you.
Well, I see he made it personal, and he shouldn't have. Where's your integrity? Flash your shield again, big boy.
Okay, we talked about Natalia Fernandez. Let's talk about Mike Benedetto. He has two opponents right now. Do you know who they are, Dion?
Mr. Al Quillabong.
Right.
And?
Go ahead, Dion.
I'll let you take the second portion, sir. Show us your knowledge, because Dion always answers the question directly like that. Tell us who the second person
is. So you don't know Dion?
I do know Dion.
You don't know who the third candidate is?
Thank you, Anthony. Do you know me? My name is Dion.
All right. The third candidate is the district manager of Community Board 10, Matt Cruz, who is very close to the future councilwoman, Marjorie Velazquez. And one has to wonder, though, because Michael Benedetto endorsed Marjorie's opponent, Monique Johnson, which I don't know, did you write about that, Anthony, at all? Because Anthony was covering the social media part of it, of Monique Johnson's campaign.
I worked on her campaign on the social media end of it. When you say that I write about it, no, I didn't write about it in the media capacity. I was hoping other media outlets like yourself would have picked it up on it. But of course, the media, I should say the internet media effect, obviously had a great deal to play in her second place play.
Right. Well, Marjorie was going to win that, and if she didn't, it would be a very big surprise. Much like if Sammy Ravello was to become the borough president right now. That would be such a surprise that I would imagine that people would be jumping out of windows because of that.
You'll eat my hat?
Good.
Look at that. Look at this guy. He's thinking about it too. You want to take that bet?
So Dion, tell us about Al then. Go ahead. Tell us about Al.
One of the greatest black-owned chefs in the Bronx. How about that? Culinary arts guy.
What's his last name?
Quillabong. I said it before.
And
what was your last name? It still says Fresh. Thank God. It's not a printing error.
Dion, that was great. Dion, that was great. A lot of people don't know he's a great cook.
Did you know that?
What's his Democratic club?
What's your actual stomach?
What's his Democratic club that he started? You don't know, do you?
Who are you asking?
Anthony,
Dion.
He's asking you.
No, I'm asking Dion. So why don't you tell him, Anthony? Because Dion doesn't know.
I do know, but I'm not telling you.
Fine. All right.
His People First campaign, which started about a year and a half ago and originally supported and endorsed by Fernando Cabrera, is making leaps and bounds.
So remember this, Al, that Dion didn't know your club. Okay? So when Dion comes knocking on your door, oh, I'm a political consultant, I can get you elected. Dion didn't know your name of your club.
What's his chef's name? What's his chef's name?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
You don't get invited to the cookout? Your stomach says otherwise. What's this chef's name?
I don't know.
Name of his business.
Hmm?
What's the name of his business? What's his chef's name?
I know the club, and that's all I need to know.
Oh, okay, well.
All right, let's move on. So
So
we
my
were
plug
talking
is-
about Jose Rivera, Tony. Who do you
all right,
see
we're
challenging Jose Rivera?
Oh,
Anthony?
wow. The 78th Assembly District, like the 80th, and maybe soon to be the 82nd, believe it or not, is an electoral tree gone away, gone broken. So you're going to have several, to answer your question, several candidates. You're going to have several candidates. You might see Mr. Haley Rivera. You might see Timothy Tapia. You might see, there are several considerations. You might see Emmanuel Martinez. You might see Aisha Bravo.
What about Sheila Sanchez?
I know many people are discussing it. There's nothing official yet. But in the upcoming weeks and months, I think you'll hear about several.
Now, what's the one common thing about the 81st, 80th, and 82nd? There's one common thing that is all about it's still in effect, but it was big a couple of years ago. What is that one common effect?
Biaggi.
Correct, Dion. You got it.
Oh, ding, 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 ding,
But
ding. You heard that, Riccio?
it was really Jeff Klein, because Jeff Klein was blue.
Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate? Who's a candidate?
I know what it is to be a victim of police brutality, to fight for justice, for Amadou Diallo, Abner Louima, because I was there. Racial inequality is woven into the fabric of America.
2021. Make your vote count now. Count now. Count now. Count now. Vote now. Vote now. Vote now. Every card up is a ballot now.
We have to end inequality in our school and in housing and ensure we won't have crime and gun violence destroying our city. This is our moment.
Make it count. Make it count. Make your vote. Make it count. We say, oh yeah, who's a candidate? 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 Who's a candidate?
Keep watching. The politics.